All right, everybody, how are you doing? This is David Olds with DispoREI.com. Hey, lots of questions about this topic, and I think it's super, super important. So I'm going to go through it real quick with you here. So you've got a contract and it didn't sell, or you're struggling to move it, right? So generally, I mean, this is really simple. This is coming from somebody who's done 1,000 deals in the last 10 or 15 years. So 3 reasons why your contract didn't sell. Number one, you just didn't do a good job marketing. It's painful to hear that, but you just did a bad job. You didn't get your deal out in front of enough people, right? So no matter how good your property is, right, the best deal in the world, if it's sitting on your desk, is not going to sell, right? So you've got to get it out there. You've got to have a plan, a marketing plan. Where are the highest quality places to quickly get your deal sold, right? So where are you posting it, or who are you calling? Are you texting? You know, what is that plan, right? So so you have to have a good, process for how you're going to get these things moved. Simple, right? So number 2, there was an unknown that affected how your buyers reacted to the deal. So if it's a case where you are selling a property in your own market and you went out there and looked at it, maybe you missed something, right? Maybe you didn't realize there were termites in the foundation. Maybe you didn't see the mold in the attic. Maybe you didn't know that there was a fire in the attic and your buyer caught that, right? So there's something that you just missed. If you're virtual, maybe it's something that your seller didn't tell you about. And maybe the person who you sent to take pictures did not catch that, right? So that's kind of the second and really the most common thing that affects your deal, right? This happens to us quite frequently. We ask people to tell us about the house, and they of course want to tell us all the good things and never any of the bad things. And it does go the other way sometimes. Sometimes people say, oh, this house is just terrible, and we go out there and it's a little bit dated, right? So that's the second thing. First thing, you didn't do a good job marketing. Second thing, there was some unknown, right? Maybe it was functionally obsolete, or just something that you did not know and take into account, right? But the third thing is you're just priced too high. And it's very easy for this to be a cop-out of, geez, I'm just too high, or that deal's too high, and you didn't do enough marketing, right? But I mean, sometimes there is just a legitimate reason for not selling, and it's just that you're just priced too high. Maybe you didn't do a good job on negotiating the deal. Maybe you got greedy. Listen, this happens to us every so often. I get excited, I start selling a bunch of properties, and then I push the number up just a little bit too high, and I run people off, right? So pricing's it's quite an art. So, and what I mean by that is, obviously, even in a hot market, we are still looking for a cash buyer, right? So if properties on MLS are selling at $200,000, you have to understand that $200,000 is somebody who's getting a loan, right? So if you're using MLS properties as your comp, are you looking at a homeowner who got a loan and only had to put 3.5% down? Or are you even looking at an investor who had to put 20% down, right? So they're able to use leverage and afford pay a higher dollar number for their property. Whereas a wholesaler, we're selling to a cash buyer who's putting 100% of the money down. So we've all heard that expression, cash is king, cash buyers want the best deal. Well, this is why, right? Because why should somebody put down $200,000 to buy a property from you or from me when they could just go to a bank and put 20% down on the worst day and get that same property, right? So we have to take that into account, and that's reasonable, right? Our end buyer's putting down real money on this property, so we want to make sure that we're providing value. That's our job as wholesalers. On the disposition side is to provide value to our buyers, right? Why should they come to us for a property? We can't be so arrogant as to think that we're the only people with deals out there. That's not the case. There are a lot of people out there selling deals. Most of them don't know what they're doing, but there are a lot that do. And you don't want to be pricing yourself out of the market. So the good news is you get progressively better in all 3 phases of this as you go. And it's not a case where one thing is off, right? So maybe if you didn't do a good job marketing your deal, but you're doing some marketing, but your price is really low, like that will offset, right? Maybe if your price is a little high, but you're doing a ton of marketing, those will offset, right? So I think of them as like three equalizer dials, right? They've all got to be within reason, and one can sometimes overcome one of the other ones. But if you're consistently having a problem with moving your deals, you need to be honest with yourself and look at it and say, okay, am I doing the right marketing? Am I pricing it wrong? And are you pricing it wrong because you don't know how to comp, right? Comping is relatively straightforward, but once you get past that first level, it becomes a little bit of an art where you need to look at, are you comparing a property that's 3 blocks in off a main road with one that's on a main road, right? So the one that's on a main road will have less value because you have to think with the end in mind, your end buyer. Are they going to be able to sell it to a family, right? Because a family's got little kids, and are the kids going to run out on the street, or is it a rental, or those types of things. So anyways, those are kind of a little overview on the 3 reasons why you'll have trouble selling your deals. And as the market shifts and adjusts, you have to kind of know where you're at in that cycle so that you can prepare, right? So on an up market, you can start to push the price up a little bit because things are heating up and people are jumping ahead on price, right? We see that every day now, where people are selling properties for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over what they're listed for on MLS. But as that market starts to shift, it's going to pull back and contract, and you're going to have to try to be ahead of that number. So, at any rate, hopefully that will help you out a little bit on evaluating your deals. Have a great day.